everyone, this is Behnaz and welcome back to my channel Collect English. Today we have an exciting topic to explore: past tenses. Whether you are a beginner or an intermediate learner, mastering past tenses is essential to express yourself fluently in any language. In this video, you are going to learn everything about all past tenses. So grab a pen and a paper and let's get started. Before we dive into past tenses, let's clarify what past tenses are. Past tenses are verb forms that we use to talk about actions, events, and states that happened in the past. In English language, there are different past tenses with specific purposes. Before diving into past tenses, let's see what time expressions we can use with them. These are the time expressions that you can use in past tenses: yesterday, last week, last month, last night, yesterday morning, this morning, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, last summer, last winter. And there are many of them that you can use with last and ago. Let's begin with the most common past tense, which is simple past. We use simple past to talk about completed actions, events, and states in the past. The form is easy: subject plus verb plus ed if the verb is regular, and the rest of the sentence. And if the verb is irregular, the form of the verb changes. Regular verbs are like jump, live, open, travel, laugh, study, like. Actually, there are lots of them. For these verbs, you just need to put ed at the end of the sentence. And we have irregular verbs. What are irregular verbs? Guys, we can't put, or we don't put ed at the end of irregular verbs. So what should we do? Actually, the form of these verbs changes when we want to use them in the past. Some examples of irregular verbs are come, the past tense is came; drink, drank; swim, swam; get, got; become, became. As you see in all these verbs, the form of the word changes when we use it in the past. And with regular verbs, there are some points that you should remember when you want to add ed. For example, for regular verbs that end to e, you don't need to add ed. You just add d, like dance, danced; live, lived; observe, observed. In all these verbs, you just add d because the verb already has e at the end of it. For regular verbs that end to a consonant and y, when you want to add ed, you should change y to I, like study, studied; marry, married; occupy, occupied. Now you may ask what consonants are. In English language, we have two kinds of letters: consonants and vowels. Vowels are I, E, A, O, U. And other letters except these vowels are consonants, like D, M, N, T, S. For regular verbs that end in a vowel and y, you don't need to change y, you just add ed. For example, play. A is a vowel and there is y, so you just add ed. Nothing changes. Or pray. Past tense of pray is prayed. You just add ed. Here you don't need to change Y into I. For regular verbs ending in a vowel followed by a consonant, you should double the consonant when you add ed. For example, stop. O is a vowel which is followed by a consonant P. When you want to add ed, you should double P, so it will be stopped. Other examples are drop, dropped, drag, dragged. Let's see some examples in simple past. They went on a picnic and had lots of fun. Went is the past tense of go. So go is an irregular verb. And had is the past tense of have. So have is an irregular verb. The form of the here the form of the verb changes. You don't add ed. Or he created a website to develop his business. Create is a regular verb, so you add ed. Created. So guys, we use simple past to talk about actions that happened, completed, and finished in the past. If you want to change a sentence into a negative form in simple past, you need to use the auxiliary did. The form is subject plus didn't or did not plus the verb, but simple form of the verb. Guys, remember that when you use didn't or did not, you should use simple form of the verb, not the past form. For example, she didn't have breakfast. Now she doesn't feel well. As you see in this example, which is a negative form of a sentence in simple past, when we use didn't or did not, you should use the simple form of the verb, not the past form. So we use have, not had. Another example, he didn't pass the exam although he worked hard for it. He didn't pass the exam is a negative sentence. We have didn't and simple form of the verb, pass, not passed. Like negative form, if you want to make a question in simple past, you should use the auxiliary did. In yes-no question, you should put did at the beginning of the sentence, then the subject, then the simple form of the verb, because we have did. And when you want to give a short answer, use the auxiliary did. For example, did you visit your parents last weekend? Yes, I did, or no, I didn't. As you see in this question, we use the simple form of visit, not the past form. Or did she call you this morning? Yes, she did, or no, she didn't. We don't say, did she call you this morning? It's wrong. If you want to make a WH question, again you should use did, the auxiliary did. The form is WH word plus did plus subject plus simple form of the verb. For example, why did Jane leave work early? Why is the WH word, did the auxiliary, Jane the subject, leave is the simple form of the verb. Or what did you do last summer? What is the WH word, did the auxiliary, you the subject, do is the verb, simple form of the verb. Now let's see how to use to be verbs in the past. As you know, am, is, are to be verbs. If you want to use them in the past, you should change them into was and were. Am and is change into was, are changes into were. The form is subject plus was or were plus the rest of the sentence. For example, she is in the UK now, but she was in Italy last year. Was here is the past form of to be verb is. Another example, there was a conference in the company and all the staff were very busy. Here we have two to be verbs in the past, was and were. If you want to change the sentence into negative, you should put not or and after was or were. The form is the subject plus was or were plus not or and plus the rest of the sentence. For example, my father wasn't happy this morning. My father is the subject. Wasn't is the negative form of was. If you want to make a question, you should use was and were. For the yes/no question, put was and were at the beginning of the sentence. For example, was she at work yesterday? Yes, she was, or no, she wasn't. Use was and were to give the short answer. If you want to make a WH question, put was or were after the WH word. The form is the WH word plus was or were plus the subject plus the rest of the sentence. For example, where were you last night? Where is a WH word, were is the to be verb and the subject, you. Or why were you so angry yesterday? Why is the WH word, were is the to be, you is the subject, and the rest of the sentence. Guys, we use past continuous to talk about actions, to talk about ongoing actions happening in the past in a specific time. The form is subject plus auxiliary was or were plus verb, simple form of the verb, plus ing. Remember that was and were here are auxiliaries. We use was for singular subjects and were for plural one. For example, I was studying when the phone rang. I is the subject, was is the auxiliary, study is the verb, simple form of the verb, plus ing. In past continuous form, we don't use the past form of the verb. We use was and were to show that the tense is past. If you want to change the sentence into a negative form, just add not or and to auxiliaries was or were. The form is subject plus the auxiliaries was or were plus not or and plus the verb plus ing, simple form of the verb. For example, I wasn't studying when my father came in. I is the subject, was is the auxiliary, plus and or not, plus studying, study verb plus ing. If you want to make a yes/no question, you use the auxiliaries was or were. The form is was or were plus the subject plus the verb plus ing. For example, was he washing his car when you saw him? Was is the auxiliary. You put it at the beginning of the sentence, plus the subject, plus verb, plus ing. The subject is he, plus verb wash, plus ing. If you want to make a WH question, put the auxiliaries was or were after the WH word. The form is WH word plus was or were plus the subject plus verb plus ing, the rest of the sentence. Don't forget question mark. For example, what were they talking about when I came? What is the WH word? Were is the auxiliary. They is the subject. Talk verb, ing. We use past continuous in different situations. Let's learn them. We use past continuous to describe a situation that was happening or progressing at a specific time in the past. Here, in this situation, two actions can happen at the same time. For example, she was talking on the phone when she heard a noise, or while they were dancing, the electricity cut off. In these two sentences, two actions happen at the same time. One of them was happening progressively, continuously. They were dancing, or she was talking on the phone. When two actions happen at the same time, remember to use when or while. While they were dancing, the electricity cut off. When she was talking on the phone, she heard a noise. Another situation that we can use past continuous in is to set a scene or to describe background actions in the past. It is usually in a narrative form. For example, you are talking about one of your memories from your last holiday to friends. You tell them the kids were playing happily and having lots of fun. Or you are telling your friends about one of your memories when you spent time in the woods. And you say the sun was setting and the birds were chirping. If you want to talk about gradual changes or developments in the past, use past continuous. For example, her health was improving when she continued with her treatment. Or she was getting more depressed every day, but we couldn't do anything, unfortunately. We use past perfect to talk about an action or event that happened before another action or event in the past. The form is subject plus auxiliary had plus verb 3, third form of the verb. For example, they had finished their meal before we arrived. Here in this sentence, two actions happened in the past. First, they finished their meal, then we arrived. So the first action is past perfect. The second one is simple past. The past perfect is they plus had plus finished verb 3. Or Gabby left work after she had organized all the files. Here, first Gabby finished organizing the files, then she left. So, the first action is past perfect. The second one is simple past. Gabby left work is simple past. She had organized all the files, happened first. She is the subject, had is the auxiliary, organized is verb 3. If you want to change a sentence into a negative form in past perfect, you should use the auxiliary had. The form is subject plus had plus not or and plus verb 3. They hadn't finished their job before the meeting started. They is the subject, hadn't is the negative form of the auxiliary had, and the verb finished. If you want to make a question, use the auxiliary had for both yes-no questions and WH questions. For yes-no questions, the form is had plus subject plus verb 3, and you should use had to give short answers. For example, had they met up before? Had is the auxiliary, they is the subject, met up is verb 3 of meet up. Yes, they had, or no, they hadn't. To make WH questions, you should put the auxiliary had after the WH word. The form is the WH word plus had plus subject plus verb 3. For example, what had you done before? What is the WH word? Had is the auxiliary. You is the subject. Done, verb 3 of do. Great, now we come to past perfect continuous. We use past continuous to talk about a continuous action that happened until a specific point in the past. The form is subject plus had plus been plus verb plus ing. For example, they had been playing computer games for hours before their parents came. They is the subject, had auxiliary, plus been, plus play, plus ing. Here we have two actions that happened in the past. The first action, they had been playing computer games. It happened first in a continuous way until their parents came. The second one is simple past. Another example, I had been studying all day before I visited my friend. Again here, two actions happened in the past. So the first one, past perfect continuous. The second one, simple past. Guys, remember that for past perfect and past continuous, you can use after and before to connect two sentences. If you want to change the sentence into a negative form, use had, like past perfect. The form is subject plus had plus and or not plus been plus verb plus ing. For example, I hadn't been eating meat for a long time until I decided to change my diet and started to eat meat. If you want to make a question, use had, like past perfect. For yes/no question, the form is had plus the subject plus been plus verb plus ing. For example, had the kids been watching TV for a long time when we arrived home? Like past perfect, use had to give a short answer. Yes, they had, or no, they hadn't. If you want to make a WH question, put had, auxiliary had, after WH word. The form is the WH word plus had plus subject plus been plus verb plus ing, and the rest of the sentence. For example, what had she been doing in the kitchen when I called her? What is the WH word? Had the auxiliary. She is the subject. Been plus do plus ing. We are done with past tenses, and here in this video you have learned everything about all past tenses. If you find the video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you. See you in the next video.